Hey, what's going on, everyone? How y'all doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater. And yesterday, the Aquaman verified Twitter account issued a tweet that is, well, quite ratioed and compared to a lot of their other tweets. It's wishing Amber Heard a fantastic birthday. That's right. It's Amber Heard's birthday. And as a result of that, a lot of people are in the comments of that tweet. They're responding to it, and they are not very happy. And the reason why they're not happy is because Amber Heard, to a lot of fans out there, is persona non grata after finding out more about her relationship with Johnny Depp and over the allegations involving Johnny Depp and the media protection of her. In this video, I'm calling Warner Brothers' big problem with Amber Heard. So to really look at Amber, we have to go back to her humble beginnings just to get an idea of perhaps her mindset, where this whole thing finds itself. So it's her background came in 2008 with roles in the action film Never Back Down and then their stoner comedy Pineapple Express. Both were box office successes. The same year she received the Breakthrough Award at Young Hollywood. Heard continued her career with roles in such films as The Informer, The Stepfather, Zombieland, and The Joneses. In 2011, she played the female lead opposite Nicolas Cage in Drive Angry and opposite Johnny Depp in The Rum Diary. Neither were critically nor commercially successful. However, that is where she met Johnny Depp, and that is where the two of them fell in one kind of love. That's definitely for certain. Now, subsequently, she had appearances in 3 Days to Kill, Magic Mike XL, and The Danish Girl. She also starred in the indie film The Adderall Diaries, the television musical drama One More Time, and the Martin Amis adaptation London Fields. The latter was due to be released in 2015, but became the subject of a series of lawsuits between this director. Anyway, so we know that it finally came out in 2018, and it was both a critical and commercial flop. Now, the reason why I'm addressing this, at least the first phase of her career, is you could tell she was desperate for a breakout role. She's desperate to get into the Hollywood game. She's done a lot of smaller parts. They mentioned Zombieland here, but what they don't tell you is that it was simply a cameo appearance and maybe a 2.5, 3-minute scene. But anyway, going on, in 2017, she acted as part of an ensemble cast in the indie film I Do Until I Don't, and made an appearance as Mera in the superhero film Justice League. She reprised that latter role opposite Jason Momoa in Aquaman, which became the most profitable DC Extended Universe film up to that point, and the 5th highest grossing film of 2018. So this is her breakout. Her breakout, absolutely positively, is Aquaman, and she wants nothing more than to stay in the role. And quite frankly, so does a lot of other people in the access media world. So that same year, she was also nominated a global spokesperson for the giant L'Oreal Paris. In 2019, she's appeared in the independent films Her Smell and Gully. So even though she's got the big role of Mera in Aquaman, she hasn't quite found herself with a lot of that massive stardom, a lot of that massive success that should come with that kind of exposure. Well, let's talk about everything. So let's go into the Johnny Depp divorce, because this is where things do get really fascinating. So we know that back in 2015, on February 4th, it was reported by people that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard tied the knot in a civil ceremony at their home. It was a very low-key, chill situation. But that only lasted so long because she filed for divorce from Johnny Depp just a little over a year and 3 months later. But, and this is true, she filed it on the heels of his mother's death. This is from the article. Amber Heard has filed for divorce from Johnny Depp, shockingly, 3 days after Johnny's mom died. Amber filed her divorce petition on Monday, citing irreconcilable differences. The couple married February of last year, yet Amber is asking for spousal support. Our sources say the couple had no prenup. It's especially harsh because Johnny was extremely close to his mother. She says in the divorce docs that they separated on May 22nd, 2 days after Johnny's mom had passed. Now, this is something I just found out, and that is not cool. That's not cool. Like, I understand they're in a very volatile relationship, and she needed to get out of there, or he needed to get out. They both needed to get away from each other, is what I really want to say. But still, this is not framed in the best way, but this is never brought up. You know what else isn't brought up? Any kind of domestic abuse. So let's talk about the media narrative on this one, because quite frankly, there's been a very protective media narrative about this going as far back as 2016. So this is what happened in August 16th of 2016. They settled their divorce, and a few months later, in the beginnings of, I think towards the end of 2016, Amber wrote this powerful letter to silent sisters of domestic abuse. Now, this is what it says. The Justice League actress has written a powerful letter for the December issue of Porter magazine about the trauma of experiencing domestic abuse and the shame associated with reporting it. Heard, who was in the final stages of divorcing her estranged husband, Johnny Depp, previously accused the Pirates of the Caribbean actor of physically and verbally abusing her throughout their short marriage. According to TMZ, Heard's letter might be a cause for concern in Depp's camp, as she is bound by confidentiality per their divorce agreement. The actress never mentions Depp by name, but it's clear she's speaking about from her own experience. The media outlet suggests that the letter could give Depp license to find Heard in violation of their $6.8 million divorce settlement, which Heard has plans to donate to multiple charities. This is the second time in recent weeks Heard has spoken out about her experience with domestic abuse, as she released an emotional PSA on International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women in November. Now, I find it to be quite fascinating that she's out there saying, hey, listen, domestic abuse is bad. You shouldn't do it. You should never be engaged in it. It should never happen to you. Eliminate it entirely. When back in 2016, after she filed for divorce from Johnny Depp, she was actually arrested, or it came out that she was arrested in 2009 on the charge of hitting her then girlfriend, Tasia Van Reed. This happened in Seattle. And she was let go, no charges were filed, but she was still arrested for grabbing her and striking her in public. This actually happened. No one brought this up. This does not get brought up very often, even though it is quite public. Now, this is when we have to talk about Harry Potter, because when this cast photo was dropped at the tail end of 2017, we were just in the early stages of the Me Too movement. We were just in the early stages of everything. And of course, Johnny Depp being there as Grindelwald was a massive, massive cause for controversy, where you had so many people on Twitter and social media attacking the movie, demanding Warner's fires Johnny Depp because of the abuse allegations that Amber Heard had levied at him. However, he did have a couple people that were backing him. One of them was J.K. Rowling. In a post here from December 7th, 2017 on the Grindelwald casting, she says this: "When Johnny Depp was cast as Grindelwald, I thought he'd be wonderful in the role. However, around the time of filming his cameo in the first movie, stories had appeared in the press that deeply concerned me and everyone most closely involved in the franchise. Harry Potter fans had legitimate questions and concerns about our choice to continue with Johnny Depp in the role. As David Yates, longtime Potter director, has already said, we naturally considered the possibility of recasting. I understand why some have been confused and angry about why that didn't happen. The huge mutually supportive community that has grown up around Harry Potter is one of the greatest joys of my life. For me personally, the inability to speak openly to fans about this issue has been difficult, frustrating, and at times painful. However, the agreements that have been put in place in order to protect the privacy of two people, both of whom have expressed a desire to get on with their lives, must be respected. Based on our understanding of the circumstances, the filmmakers and I not only are comfortable sticking with our original casting, but are genuinely happy to have Johnny playing a major character in the movies. I've loved writing the first two screenplays, and I can't wait for fans to see The Crimes of Grindelwald. I accept that there will be those who won't be satisfied with our choice of the actor in the title role. However, conscience isn't governable by committee within the fictional world and outside it. We all have to do what we believe to be the right thing." Now, what she's referring to here is a confidentiality agreement that they both signed at the end of their marriage, at the end of the divorce, in order to make sure that they couldn't speak ill of one another. And Depp was doing it, but Heard was issuing all these domestic abuse statements, and everyone knew who she was talking about, even though she didn't say Depp's name directly. It was a big issue. Now, not only did J.K. Rowling come out and say something, so did David Yates, the director of the Fantastic Beasts films and all the Harry Potters from the Order of the Phoenix. Now, it says here that Fantastic Beasts director defends keeping Johnny Depp. Veteran Harry Potter franchise director David Yates is in the midst of shooting the sequel in London and spoke to EW about Depp's participation in the film, saying, honestly, there's an issue at the moment where there's a lot of people being accused of things. They're being accused by multiple victims, and it's compelling and frightening. With Johnny, it seems to me that there was one person who took a pop at him and claimed something. I can only tell you about the man I see every day. He's full of decency and kindness, and that's all I see. Whatever accusation was out there doesn't tally with the kind of human being I've been working with. He goes on to say that he added that several of Depp's exes have come forward to publicly defend him, including Vanessa Paradis, Lori Ann Allison, and Winona Ryder, who said that Depp was never abusive at all. I've only known him as a good, really good, loving, caring guy. By testament, by some of the women in Depp's lives have said the same thing. That's not the human being we know. This is coming from Yates. It's very different than cases where there are multiple accusers over many years that need to be examined, and we need to reflect our industry that allows that to roll on year in and year out. Johnny isn't in that category in any shape or form, so to me, it doesn't bear any more analysis. It's a dead issue. And this came out from the writer and the director of The Fantastic Beasts, and this is why Warner's didn't do anything. Warner's didn't react at all. So I think we're in a situation where it's a little bit different between them, but you can see there's a massive media narrative between both parties. Then we get to Comic-Con 2018. And this was where things got really spicy because they both appeared on stage within minutes of each other. And that caused a lot of people online, especially the woke press, to get really upset and to accuse Johnny Depp of harassing her in person and to fawn all over Amber Heard, as they've been doing for the past couple years. And yet Depp pretty much said nothing. He was quiet about it. He took the abuse on the chin and he kept on chugging, where Amber allowed everyone to rally around and attack Johnny Depp. She allowed it. She never said anything about it. She never said that she did anything because, of course, why would she? But then she got a little bit ahead of herself. She got a little bit full of hubris, and then she wrote this op-ed in the Washington Post with the title, "Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. This has to change." Oh yeah, you can kind of guess what's already in this. So she says here, "Like many women, I've been harassed and sexually assaulted by the time I was of college age, but I kept quiet. I didn't expect filing complaints to bring justice, and I didn't see myself as a victim. Then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Friends and advisors told me I would never work again as an actress, that I would be blacklisted. The movie I was attached to recast my role. I had just shot a 2-year campaign as the face of a global fashion brand, and the company dropped me. Questions arose as to whether I'd be able to keep my role of Mara in the movies of Justice League and Aquaman. As far as I can tell, that was never up for debate. Ever. No one had ever mentioned it in the trades at all. This is one of those things that I don't think was up for debate. At the time when all this started coming out around the end of 2017, as Me Too was in full effect, no one was ever looking at Amber Heard as losing her role. I mean, as I just showed you guys that there was, the J.K. Rowling and David Yates comments, those were during that time. We're talking right 2 months into Me Too and everything was at an absolute fever pitch. No, I don't believe that one bit. But she does go on to say here, in many recent years, the Me Too movement has taught us about how power like this works, and not just in Hollywood, but in all kinds of institutions, workplaces, places of worship, or simply in particular communities. In every walk of life, women are confronting these men who are buoyed by social, economic, and cultural power, and these institutions are beginning to change. We are in a transformative political movement. The president of our country has been accused by more than a dozen women of sexual misconduct, including assault and harassment. Outrage over his statements and behavior has energized the female-led opposition. Me Too started as a conversation about just how profoundly sexual violence affects women in every era of our lives. And last month, more women were elected to Congress than ever in our country's history. With a mandate to take a woman's issue seriously, women's rage and determination to end sexual violence are turning into a political force. Now, while she doesn't mention Depp by name, this is clearly aimed at Johnny Depp, which is why he sued her for $50 million over this op-ed, and it's not going away. In fact, it's really not going away. It goes on to say here that Johnny Depp has reportedly filed a lawsuit for defamation against his ex-wife Amber Heard over the op-ed she wrote in the Washington Post back in December, which detailed her alleged experiences with domestic violence without naming Depp. The suit, which is for $50 million, says Heard is not a victim of domestic abuse. She is a perpetrator. The suit also denies that Depp ever abused Heard and claims that her allegations were part of an elaborate hoax to generate positive publicity for the Aquaman star. The op-ed depended on the central premise that Miss Heard was a domestic abuse victim and that Mr. Depp perpetuated domestic violence against her. Now, obviously, that's been pushed back on by Heard, but let's be realistic. That's kind of what all this seems like. Now, the media still came out and defended her, and this is what I found to be very fascinating. The lawsuit was filed in early March 2019. I think around March 2nd is when that lawsuit was filed. It was very, very silent in the media. They talked about it for about a day, and that was it. Then a week later, magically, all of these headlines ran. Amber Heard recalls coming out to her religious parents. They couldn't process it. So instead of saying, well, wait a minute, we have this lawsuit that's going on between two celebrities, both of which are arguing that there would be, violence and there's a lot of attacks against each other. Why don't we just further move on and continue to defend Heard, which is what they were doing. The article here says that the Aquaman actress 32 spoke at the Making Change on and off the screen panel at South by Southwest on Saturday and explained that her parents were unable to process that her sexuality could be viewed outside of the binary system as positive or negative, saying, "I'm from Austin, Texas. My dad is out of Central Casting, Texan. Good Southern man. I was raised in a religious home. And being an outspoken lesbian, atheist, vegetarian, I remember when I was told about my relationship that I was in love with this woman, and at the beginning of it, it was just tears and tears." She says they didn't know how to process this because for them, it was being thrown into a binary system of processing it, negative or positive. 5 years later, I was getting an award and I asked my parents to drive out to Dallas. And I see them sitting front and center, and here I'm getting this gay award. My parents in 5 years took that journey. Attitudes and hearts can change. Now, pay attention to this, because it's just serious. Heard dated girlfriend Tasia Van Ree for 4 years before they split in 2012. In 2015, she married Johnny Depp, although they split 15 months later. Their divorce was finalized in January 2017, and then she also was in a relationship with Tesla founder Elon Musk. So she says that she's lesbian, but she's been in one lesbian relationship, and they also failed to mention this little ditty. Now, I'm not saying that I know all the details, because I don't. But you can tell that when you start really looking at how the media defends Amber Heard, they are defending her 100% by ignoring this and ignoring all the other things. They had no problem putting all of that on Johnny Depp, had no problem whatsoever putting that on Johnny Depp. But here we know that they're not mentioning this at all. Not at all. This is from 2016 is when this article was written, at the height of their divorce, right when it was announced, and then nothing. But this is when Johnny decides to fight back, because Johnny here came out, and this is just a couple months ago, like 2.5 months ago. Johnny Depp claims Amber Heard has a history of domestic abuse as a perpetrator and not victim. And of course, referencing what I just showed you guys. But this also came from the Daily Mail, saying here, this is a big deal. This is what came out from a recording that they got, saying exclusive. I can't promise I won't get physical again. I get so mad, I lose it. Amber Heard admits to hitting ex-husband Johnny Depp and pelting him with pots, pans, and vases in explosive audio confession. Now, I'm not going to play for you the whole thing, but I want you to pay attention to these two clips right here.
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
You've been a lot of fights, been around a long time. I know. Yeah,
no, when you fucking have a closed fist.
You get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not fucking deck you. I fucking was hitting you.
You can't
I don't know what
me.
the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
How are your toes?
What am I supposed to do? Do this?
How are your toes?
I'm not sitting here bitching about it, am I? You are.
Oh,
that's the difference between me and you. You're a fucking baby.
Because you start
you
physical
are
fights?
Such a baby.
Because
Grow the fuck up,
Because you
Johnny.
start physical fights?
I did start a physical fight.
Yeah, you did. So I had
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't.
Now, granted, these are not the whole recording, but it does give you an idea as to what to expect from Amber Heard. This is not a person who is innocent by any stretch of the imagination. We know this by these particular tapes, as well as this image of Johnny Depp right here with a bruised eye, never mind the severed fingertip. That this was a pretty shocking revelation when it came out. And if you don't think I'm telling the truth on this one, take a look at this image of him right here. He clearly has a scar on his finger from where they had to reattach the skin. There's audio from the doctor and the nurse that are trying to find it. They're freaking out as they're trying to locate the tip of his finger in order to quickly reattach it. Johnny Depp is not getting this level of reporting in the mainstream media here in the United States, but people are starting to talk about it. Heroic Hollywood here ran an article a couple weeks ago saying star Amber Heard could face prison time for faking evidence against Johnny Depp. This was something that was going around. In it says, the International Business Times reports that Heard could face up to 3 years in prison if she is found guilty for falsifying evidence against Depp. Heard claimed that she had suffered 2 black eyes the night before appearing on The Late Late Show with James Corden in 2015. However, in a court document, Heard's stylist Samantha McMillan stated that the actress didn't appear to have any bruises on her during that time, saying throughout the day of December 16th, 2015, I could clearly see that Amber Heard did not have any visible marks, bruises, cuts, or injuries to her face or any other part of her bod. So let's talk about the reality check here for a second, because I know a lot of people are probably like, is she going to go to jail? Is she going to go? Is this going to be a win for men's rights? It's going to be a win for domestic abuse against men. Is that what's going to happen? Look, I'll be honest with you guys. The answer to that is probably no. I'm just going to be honest here. Is she going to go to jail? The answer to that is probably not. Now, look, these two people clearly were volatile for one another. And this is where the whole situation is going to end up playing out. What you have is a situation between two people that should never have been together, both with their own issues. Johnny is a clear alcoholic. We know this. She is clearly an abuser as well. We know this. She has baited him before. When she tried getting sympathy, she did release a recording of him pissed drunk and her leading him to the kitchen and setting up the cell phone recording in order to enrage him so she could look like she was the victim. But the truth of the matter is that already came out. And so when you look at the court of public opinion, that's already been preset. That narrative has already been preset. So Johnny Depp is definitely the victim here, 100%. I'm not arguing against that, but I'm talking about this from what we know based upon celebrity culture. The likelihood of her going to jail is minimal. They're going to settle out of court just like they did with their damn divorce settlement, and that's going to be that. But she's already kind of violated that, to the point of where he had to file a $50 million suit because she was violating the confidentiality by insinuating that it was Depp. So anything could happen. But right now, it is looking like things are not going to go well for her, legally speaking, which is why she's clearly going to have no choice but to settle out of court, which then could cost her everything, because I think she's only really worth around $9 million. But this did pop up on change.org. Remove Amber Heard from Aquaman 2, 419,000 people assigned, and people out there really want her to be removed from the movie. Well, look, I hate to say it, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but I am trying to give you guys a reality check. Just a couple weeks ago, Ezra Miller appeared to choke a woman on video, and there's been absolutely zero commentary from Warner Brothers about that at all. Completely. They haven't talked about it. We know that when it comes to Amber Heard, that they haven't said anything. They've defended Johnny Depp. They've defended Johnny Depp by allowing him to keep working on the Harry Potter franchise during all of this. Amber kept, in my opinion, doubling down, to the point of where Depp felt he had no choice but to fire back and release all this stuff publicly. So he's been defending himself, which is good, which shows her for the kind of duplicitous, manipulative person that she is, and she's not going to escape that level of public opinion. But when we talk about a court of law, when we talk about all of these things, if there's been no if there's been no police report filed necessarily, I haven't heard about one, and it's all done through tabloid media and things along those lines, they're aiming for a settlement, and that's what they're going to go for. And it's unfortunate that in regards to a court of law, she will not be brought to justice, but that's where it is. That's the unfortunate truth. But will Warner Brothers do anything about this? No. They won't. And I say that because Aquaman 2 is still like 2 years away. By that point in time, they are probably going to have it settled. They're going to have it all worked out, and they're probably not going to want to talk about it anymore and to let both people get on with their lives. The thing is, though, the internet doesn't forget. And trust me, the internet is not going to forget Amber Heard one way or another. However, I look forward to your thoughts. I look forward to your opinions. Let me know down in the comments below. I will talk to you guys about this all later. Please leave your thoughts. I want to read them. Be sure to like the video as well. Have yourself a great night, everybody, and peace out.